Hey, I'm Jess Willie. I'm a TV and media critic who occasionally branches out to other stuff. I've got some pretty cool friends. A little strange, maybe, but cool. There's Nick, an AI copy of a buddy of mine from college that I installed on my smart TV. He's supposed to keep the show on track, but he spends more time watching Brazilian cooking shows. There's King Ralph Detritus, an old toy from my childhood who is somehow alive, and he rules a massive underground kingdom from a stronghold in my basement. There's Zylogaphia P. Robinson. She's a magical winter elf who started out as an observer from the International Internet Reviewers Guild, but she sorta went native. So if you want to know the story, go and watch the back catalog. If you're just interested in a review of the thing you clicked on, sit back, relax, and don't ask questions. Or if you have questions, leave them in the comments. Maybe I'll answer. The only question you can be sure I'm gonna answer is, did I get what I paid for? Alright, we're down to one more callback from things from previous seasons. Since you guys weren't around to stop me, I decided that we're going to do something we've done at the end of not one, but two previous seasons.
Ugh. More Star Trek Enterprise, come on. Though, I knew you were going to do that months ago. You know, sometimes when I talk, my innermost thoughts appear on screen. Double check a few old episodes. I mention it at least once.
I told you we're doing a few more things that I want to do this year because I'm tired of torturing myself.
Okay, look, I'll tell you what. This cycle of 16 episodes started in late 2024. We can't go into mid 2026. So instead of doing 4 episodes, we're doing 3. Got it?
But. I know it's hard to pick one good episode, one bad episode, and one mediocre one. No, it's not. Season 3 had a lot of good episodes, but has one that stands out among the rest. It's got very few bad ones, but one of them goes beyond bad. It's perhaps one of the worst of the entire series. It's picking a just sort of meh episode that gets hard.
If you wanted to do 4 episodes of Enterprise, you shouldn't have done 3 episodes of Homicide: Life on the Street.
I didn't have a choice in that. You guys made me. A smart person would have anticipated you guys doing something like that and, I don't know, nailed the middle of the road option down to 2 choices and put up a poll on the community tab. Like that would get many responses. You're right, it didn't. We devised this as sort of a Kobayashi Maru test.
You couldn't possibly have found a way out.
I beat the Kobayashi Maru test in the most Star Trek way possible. I cheated. When I didn't get that many responses to the poll, I asked for feedback from people I trusted.
You didn't ask us for squat.
I said people I trust. Anyway, if Spock and Bones, Tor and Matt had disagreed between Carpenter Street and Exile, I would have gone with North Star, which would have made them both upset. But since they both agreed, you realized you were screwed. Yeah.
But have you picked your starting episode yet?
Yep. I'm getting the pain out of the way. But first,
Don't say a history segment. Don't say a history segment.
The history segment.
No.
Alright, I'll make it quick. Star Trek Enterprise was created by Rick Berman and Brannon Braga. Rick Berman had been working on the franchise almost exclusively since the early days of Star Trek The Next Generation. Brannon Braga had joined The Next Generation as a staff intern during the 4th season. He became a writer for the show during season 5 and the story editor for the 6th season. During the 7th season, he was pulling double duty because he was one of the 4 writers on the development team for Star Trek Voyager. Paramount knew the potential for a great series existed in Enterprise, but it failed to meet it on a consistent basis. It was clear these 2 men had been doing Star Trek for too long and were burned out. Manny Coto was brought in to be story editor for the 3rd season, and he was a controversial choice. Prior to Enterprise, his writing credits had included everything from the reboot of Alfred Hitchcock Presents to campy kid sci-fi like Star Kid and Xenon the Sequel. It's Coto's work after Enterprise where many Star Trek fans have issues. He was a writer for the Half-Hour News Hour, Fox News' attempt to make a racist conservative version of The Daily Show. He was story editor on the 4th season of 24, when they went from having good guys on both sides of the aisle to being a neocon's wet dream. He was story editor on the 5th season of Dexter and wrote most of the last 4 seasons. This includes the original series' final episode, which means between that and something I'm sure we're going to get to eventually, he is responsible for not 1, but 2 of the worst series finales in the history of television. Here's the thing, Coto was not officially the showrunner for season 3. Many people close to the show say that Berman and Braga took a hands-off approach, and Coto took over more and more of their duties as the season went on. He was made a full executive producer, along with a pay increase, for Enterprise's 4th and final season. Coto was a huge science fiction nerd, but he was not a Star Trek fan. I get it. It's not everyone's cup of tea. But if your show was supposed to be about how humanity went from a divided, war-torn society to a post-scarcity utopia, maybe your showrunner shouldn't think that such a world would be the greatest evil ever achieved by mankind.
That was your quick history segment?
Hey, this is Star Trek we're talking about. I could do this all day.
Yeah, we know. Just tell us which episode you're doing.
Nah, I gotta do the recap. Last time, the Xindi attacked Earth. Millions of people died. Archer sent Enterprise back for a refit. Then he set course for the Delphic Expanse to tell the Xindi, Planet Earth! Hell yeah! But instead of continuing from there, we're picking up a few weeks later. The Enterprise has been out there for a while. They're investigating things and trying to find the Xindi homeworld. This episode might seem a bit familiar to TNG fans. That's right, we're doing Extinction. Our story begins with this guy heading to a cookout, only it's at a predator's house. And judging by the way that Yautja is holding the flamethrower, he's the guest of honor. Cue opening credits. And now we're on the Enterprise. Trip is bringing to Paul some fresh Georgia peaches he's kept in stasis since before they left. I don't know if he's trying to say thank you for the Vulcan massage techniques that she uses to treat his PTSD-related sleep disorder, or if he's trying to coax her into some Netflix and chill. She asked him to strip, so it's hard to tell. Before we can find out, Archer calls T'Pol down to his man cave. He's been tracking the movements of this ship belonging to one of the four subspecies of Zindi that they haven't encountered yet. This one evolved from some sort of arboreal primate.
Yeah, monkeys. I mean, monkeys, right?
Don't even go there. They tracked them to the last place they went. They have no evidence that these are the Zindi who attacked Earth, so they do the only logical thing they can. Pursue them, civil liberties be damned. They scan the planet. They know the Zindi sent a shuttlecraft down there, so they go to check it out. Archer is not taking any chances. The entire away team is made up of main characters: himself, Hoshi, T'Pol, and Reed. At first, this seemed like a great strategy. They find the shuttle pod and a bunch of charred boiled corpses. Reed starts feeling a bit off, so obviously Archer decides this is the perfect moment to split up. Everyone other than T'Pol has their own "something weird is going on" moment. When they reunite, Archer, Reed, and Hoshi look like they're ready to form a Gwar cover band, though they sound like Bob Dylan if he had sand in his mouth.
You mean he doesn't?
Archer and Reed start hunting T'Pol. They tie her up like they're having a luau, and she's the main course. Hoshi's the only one acting like maybe they shouldn't do this. So Archer takes another look at T'Pol and can't decide if he wants to eat her or fuck her. There's an old El Paso taco joke to be made here, but let's not say we did. Archer takes away T'Pol's communicator until he can decide. Hoshi gets angry and takes it away from him. She can't figure out what it does and gives it back to T'Pol. T'Pol tries to get them to speak, but... Back on the Enterprise, Phlox is looking at the sensors. He says, "I detect a Vulcan bio reading and 3 unknowns." Trip says, "What about the rest of our people?" Phlox says, "I'm a doctor, not a remote viewer." Trip says, "The only reason I haven't sent another away team down there to check on the first one is that I don't know the possible danger." Phlox says, "In my professional opinion, based on Jack and Shish, I think that when T'Pol said that the situation on the ground has changed, she meant the people. Aliens do, aliens shish." Down on the planet, Archer is using the Universal Translator to explain to T'Pol why they can't go back to the Enterprise. They've got more important things to do, like looking for something called Urkel? No. Iquat? No, that's not it. Umlaut? No. Ocelot? No. Urquat? It's hard to tell what they're saying when they sound like talking snakes speaking into an oscillating fan. T'Pol tries to tell them she can prove they belong on Enterprise if they'll only come with her back to the ship. If they disagree once they get there, they can use the sensors to find this Aircat. Archer runs off. He finds something almost as important as Urquat: raw eggs.
What? Is he trying to build muscle mass so he can play varsity football?
He must be, because Reed tackles him. Archer fights him off. He presents one of the eggs to T'Pol, but she's less responsive to that than she was to the peaches. So Archer shares with Reed? Whoa, I thought Stamets and Culber were Star Trek's first. Never mind. Trip and company come down in Shuttle Pod 2. DePaul tries to convince them they're harmless, but Archer disagrees. So it's guerrilla warfare time. He grabs DePaul's gun, shoots Reed, and phaser whips Trip into submission. DePaul helps Trip get Reed to safety. She says, you guys get out of here. Reed needs medical attention. I'll stay here and, look after Archer and Hoshi. They go back to the ship. Flock says, see? What did I tell you? Alien mutagenic virus. It didn't seem to affect DePaul because of her Vulcan Deus Ex Machina cells. That's good because this virus seems to be designed to turn any humanoid it infects into Gary Busey. Trip asks Phlox if he can cure it. Phlox says, yeah, but I'd need a live DNA sample from DePaul, which means going back down to the planet.
20 Bucks says this is when the flamethrower guys come back.
No one's stupid enough to take that bet.
The alien says, what are you doing in our space? We detect a carrier of a really nasty virus on your ship. If you don't have him in strict quarantine, we'll be forced to kill you. Trip says, we've been on this planet for 20 minutes and we're maybe 10 minutes away from a cure. The alien captain says almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and Andorian orgies. Trip says, fine, you can come aboard for an inspection and we can talk things out, but I am not going to kill Reed. Down on the planet, DePaul follows Archer. He leads her to an Aztec village buried underground. We don't get to find out what that's all about because it's all a dream. But he now knows the way to Urquhart. The way he describes it to Hoshi is either a paradise or a tourist trap.
Ah, so it's Florida.
Considering what we find out in a few minutes. Never mind. Spoilers! Archer babbles on and on about it. DePaul tries to tell them the truth, but they don't want to hear it. Back on the Enterprise, Phlox is showing the angry guy's containment protocol. The alien captain says, this will never hold. The Laracat, or whatever this species was called, designed this virus to be super nasty. The irony is it was supposed to preserve their race, and we've had to wipe out dozens of them to keep it from spreading. I guess we'll just have to kill you and your away team. Then he walks away. If that's not cliched enough, Phlox says, that guy wasted so much of my time that if I don't find a cure within the next 2 hours, there won't be enough of their natural DNA left for me to be able to change them back. Trip says, well, we can't go down to the planet without him shooting us, and biofilters haven't been invented yet. We can't use the transporter. Phlox says, then we're fucked. Trip says, maybe not. How old do these live samples have to be? Phlox says, less than a day. So Trip runs back to his quarters and gets the half-eaten peach out of his stasis chamber. Yeah, that is the laziest foreshadowing I have ever seen, and I have watched 5 M. Night Shyamalan movies. Travis calls from the bridge. He said, yeah, I exist, and I'm in this episode. Oh, and the aliens are either cosplaying as soldiers from your Samrid, or they just sent a bunch of guys down to the planet to kill the away team. I don't think there's a convention. My only major screen credits are this and Leprechaun in the Hood. So I get invited to every convention within 300 light years of wherever I happen to be. Meanwhile, Archer leads Hoshi and DePaul to Uruguay. Urquhart. It looks like an abandoned shopping mall. Look, I know you guys want me to do that whole, you bastards, you blew it up, damn you, damn you all to hell speech from Planet of the Apes, but frankly, I don't think the episode is good enough to deserve the reference. Archer and Hoshi are heartbroken. T'Pol was right, but they want to stay. T'Pol tells them, that's crazy. You can't survive here. It's an ancient dead city. Archer says, that corpse over there isn't ancient. How do I know you didn't put it there? Wait, does this virus make people devolve or something?
You're only getting that now? He looks like he's about to say you can save 15% or more on car insurance.
The way he's ranting and raving and foaming at the mouth makes me think he's regressed further than that. He's acting like the Jonathan Archer of season 1. Before things can get violent, Yorkin men show up. Archer says, we gotta get out of here. Then it's fighting time. T'Pol stops Archer from killing a guy, but you almost wonder why she even bothers. Archer broke the seal on the guy's containment suit, so his buddies gave him a Viking funeral while he was still alive. Archer, Hoshi, and T'Pol leave Epcot, but they're surrounded. Trip and security guy number 3 beam down and save them. They make their way to the shuttle pod and then go back to the Enterprise to see Phlox. Yeah, they get followed. Even though Star Trek Enterprise Season 3 has a reputation for being one long story, most of the time it's in that each episode dedicates 2 or 3 scenes to it sort of way. We're in the last 10 minutes, so it's fairly standard Star Trek stuff. The baddies attack the Enterprise. The ship takes enough damage that it will need extensive repairs, considering they're weeks away from a space dock. The aliens are super polite and hail them, giving them one last chance to surrender. Then Archer steps out onto the bridge looking normalish. The alien captain says, hey, I'm not detecting anyone with the virus on your ship anymore. You killed them yourself. Good job. Archer says, no. The guy who accidentally infected one of your crew? That was me. Sorry about that. Don't worry, we have a cure now. The alien captain says, I don't believe you. Archer says, okay, how about this? I'll send you all of our data. You can analyze it. If it checks out, you let us go. The alien captain agrees. Anyway, Archer goes to see Phlox. He says, look, I know you want to destroy that virus, but don't. Phlox says, what? Why? Archer says, that virus is the key to reconstructing a lost civilization. We came out here to avenge war crimes. I'm not willing to commit genocide in order to do that. Plus, I want the audience to think that maybe, just maybe, I'd be willing to commit bioterrorism when we have our little showdown with the Xindi. And that's it. That's the episode. Okay, I'd like to judge this story on its merits, but...
It doesn't have any?
Exactly. This episode is Star Trek boldly going where it's gone on at least 3 other occasions. The aliens co-opting people's bodies in order to reproduce themselves brings to mind Star Trek The Next Generation's Identity Crisis. That's a great episode. I wish I had been watching that. The complete and total misunderstanding of how evolution works brings to mind The Next Generation's Genesis. That one at least tried to break out of the usual Trek mold and do some Cronenberg-esque body horror. The idea didn't work, but I get points for trying. Unfortunately, the other episode it reminds me of is Voyager's Threshold. That one should be remembered for the makeup effects and nothing else. Alas, what was considered cutting edge makeup effects for TV in 1996 and a mere 7 years later in 2003 are totally different things. Plus, the makeup is clearly uncomfortable. Scott Bakula, Dominic Keating, and Linda Park are normally great actors, even when given nothing to work with. Here, it's clear their hearts aren't in it. But hey, even the worst episode of any Star Trek is better than the best episode of Sequest DSV.
You have to give the episode credit for something. Based on this premise alone, this episode could have gone full-on racist caricature, but it didn't. If only by the slimmest of margins.
Now that the pain is out of the way, which is the next episode?
Like half of Enterprise Season 3, I'm gonna create false dramatic tension by not revealing that until our next episode.
French fries time? French fries time? French fries time!
Sorry, Gizmo, none of the people gave to the